Swami Vivekananda's arrival in New York marked the beginning of a new chapter filled with vibrant experiences, profound teachings, and unexpected encounters. From the serene Catskills to the bustling streets of Los Angeles, his journey was as transformative as it was enlightening. Discover the fascinating details of his time in America, where his presence left an indelible mark on those he met. In this episode, we follow Swami Vivekananda as he arrives in New York and embarks on a remarkable journey through the United States. From the peaceful retreat at Ridgely Manor to the dynamic interactions in Los Angeles, Vivekananda's travels are marked by deep reflections and heartfelt connections. Witness how his teachings evolved and how he touched the lives of those around him, all while navigating cultural nuances and personal moments of joy and humor. The afternoon that Swami Vivekananda arrived in New York, he and his brother disciple went with Mr. and Mrs. Leggett to the latter's country home, Ridgely Manor, at Stone Ridge in the Catskill Mountains, Swami Abhidananda being at that time absent from New York on a lecture tour. A month later, Nivedita came to Ridgely, and on September 21st, when she decided to assume the nun's garb, the Swami wrote for her his beautiful poem, Peace. The rest and good climate were improving his health, and he was entertaining all with his usual fun and merriment. One day, Miss MacLeod asked him how he liked their homegrown strawberries, and he answered that he had not tasted any. Miss MacLeod was surprised and said, "Why, Swami? We have been serving you strawberries with cream and sugar every day for the past week." "Ah," the Swami replied, with a mischievous twinkle in his eyes, "I am tasting only cream and sugar. Even tacks taste sweet that way." In November, the Swami returned to New York and was greeted by his old friends and disciples. He was pleased to see how the work had expanded under the able guidance of Swami Abhidananda. Swami Vivekananda gave some talks and conducted classes. At one of the public meetings in New York, after addressing a tense audience for about 15 minutes, the Swami suddenly made a formal bow and retired. The meeting broke up and the people went away greatly disappointed. A friend asked him, when he was returning home, why he had cut short the lecture in that manner, just when both he and the audience were warming up. Had he forgotten his points? Had he become nervous? The Swami answered that at the meeting he had felt that he had too much power. He had noticed that the members of the audience were becoming so absorbed in his ideas that they were losing their own individualities. He had felt that they had become like soft clay and that he could give them any shape he wanted. That, however, was contrary to his philosophy. He wished every man and woman to grow according to his or her own inner law. He did not wish to change or destroy anyone's individuality. That was why he had had to stop. Swami Turiyananda started work at Montclair, New Jersey, a short distance from New York, and began to teach children the stories and folklore of India. He also lectured regularly at the Vedanta Society of New York. His paper on Shankaracharya, read before the Cambridge Conference, was highly praised by the Harvard professors. One day, while the Swami was staying at Ridgely Manor, Miss MacLeod had received a telegram informing her that her only brother was dangerously ill in Los Angeles. As she was leaving for the West Coast, the Swami uttered a Sanskrit benediction and told her that he would soon meet her there. She proceeded straight to the home of Mrs. Blodgett, where her brother was staying, and after spending a few minutes with the patient, asked Mrs. Blodgett whether her brother might be permitted to die in the room in which he was then lying, for she had found a large picture of Vivekananda hanging on the wall at the foot of the patient's bed. Miss MacLeod told her hostess of her surprise on seeing the picture, and Mrs. Blodgett replied that she had heard Vivekananda at the Parliament of Religions in Chicago and thought that if ever there was a God on earth, it was that man. Miss MacLeod told her that she had just left the Swami at Ridgely Manor, and further that he had expressed the desire to come to Los Angeles. The brother died within a few days, and the Swami started for the West Coast on November 22nd. He broke his trip in Chicago to visit his old friends, and upon his arrival in Los Angeles became the guest of Mrs. Blodgett. whom he described in a letter to Mary Hale as fat, old, extremely witty, and very motherly. The impression the Swami left in the mind of this good woman can be gathered from the following lines of a letter written by her to Miss MacLeod after Swamiji's passing away. "I am ever recalling those swift, bright days in that never-to-be-forgotten winter, lived in simple freedom and kindliness. We could not choose but to be happy and good. I knew him personally but a short time, yet in that time I could see in 100 ways the child side of Swamiji's character, which was a constant appeal to the mother quality in all good women. He would come home from a lecture where he had been compelled to break away from his audience. So eagerly would they gather around him and rush into the kitchen like a boy released from school with, 'Now we will cook.' Presently Joe would appear and discover the culprit among the pots and pans, and in his fine dress, who was by thrifty, watchful Joe admonished to change to his home garments. In the homely, old-fashioned kitchen, you and I have seen Swamiji at his best. Swami Vivekananda gave many lectures before large audiences in Los Angeles and Pasadena, but alas, there was no Goodwin to record them, and most of what he said was consequently lost. Only a little has been preserved in the fragmentary notes of his disciples. At the Universalist Church of Pasadena, he gave his famous lecture, Christ the Messenger, and this was the only time, Miss MacLeod said later, that she saw him enveloped in a halo. The Swami, after the lecture, was returning home wrapped in thought, and Miss MacLeod was following at a little distance, when suddenly she heard him say, "I know it, I know it." "What do you know?" asked Miss MacLeod. "How they make it, how they make what?" "Mulligatawny soup. They put in a dash of bay leaf for flavor." And then he burst into a laugh. The Swami spent about a month at the headquarters of the Home of Truth in Los Angeles, conducted regular classes and gave several public lectures, each of which was attended by over 1,000 people. He spoke many times on the different aspects of Raja Yoga, a subject in which Californians seem to be especially interested. The Swami endeared himself to the members of the Home of Truth by his simple manner, his great intellect, and his spiritual wisdom. Unity, the magazine of the organization, said of him, "There is a combination in the Swami Vivekananda of the learning of a university president, the dignity of an archbishop, with the grace and winsomeness of a free and natural child. Getting upon the platform, without a moment's preparation, he would soon be in the midst of his subject, sometimes becoming almost tragic as his mind would wander from deep metaphysics to the prevailing conditions in Christian countries of today, whose people go and seek to reform the Filipinos with the sword in one hand and the Bible in the other, or in South Africa, allow children of the same father to cut each other to pieces." In contrast to this condition of things, he described what took place during the last great famine in India, where men would die of starvation beside their cows rather than stretch forth a hand to kill. The members of the Home of Truth were not permitted to smoke. One evening, the Swami was invited for dinner by a member of the organization along with several other friends who were all opposed to the use of tobacco. After dinner, the hostess was absent from the room for a few minutes, when the Swami, perhaps due to his ignorance of the rule about tobacco, took out his pipe, filled it up and began to puff. The guests were aghast, but kept quiet. When the hostess returned, she flew into a rage and asked the Swami if God intended men to smoke, adding that in that case, he would have furnished the human head with a chimney for the smoke to go out. "But he has given us the brain to invent a pipe," the Swami said with a smile. Everybody laughed, and the Swami was given freedom to smoke while living as a guest in the Home of Truth. In our next episode, we continue to follow Swami Vivekananda's transformative journey as he travels through Oakland and California. We'll witness his profound lectures, the challenges he faced, and his deep personal reflections as he grappled with his mission and health. Join us as we explore the poignant moments and the spiritual evolution of one of history's most influential figures. Thank you for listening till the end. Please subscribe, turn on the notifications, like, comment, and share with your friends. This will help more listeners to discover our channel and content.